Welcome to another edition of SaaS Builders. And I'm joined today with Chris Hood, our special guest. He's incredible with business strategies and stuff like that. And as you can see from his totally professional setup, he's like a professional podcaster. And unlike me, I'm just, But yeah, no, it's awesome. Hey, say hi.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here.
Tell me a little bit more about you, what you've been up to, where you come from, and all that good stuff.
Sure. So my name is Chris Hood. I'm a digital strategist at Google Cloud. I run a podcast called That Digital Show for Google Cloud. And I spend most of my time working with our customers on digital strategies. So it all works out very nicely, right? I spend a lot of time talking about how to leverage cloud technologies, what to do with it from a business perspective, how to grow your business, leveraging technology, how to bring the technology and business teams together so that you can create seamless experiences for your customers, growing value, all of that great stuff. That's where I spend most of my time. And before that, I have roughly 30 years of experience in media and entertainment. So a lot of my work has been in film, music, video games.
Video games.
And yeah.
Stop. Tell me more. Which ones?
Oh, my resume goes way back. So I started working in gaming around 97-ish. And I did a lot of work in the MMO space. So working with games like Ultima Online and Shadowbane and EverQuest.
Yes. My favorite ones. All my favorite ones.
Yeah.
Ultima Online was a bomb. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of late nights on that game.
Oh, for sure.
And
then in 2000, go ahead.
I was going to say, in those days, networking was a lot harder than it is now.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, it was a completely different experience. I mean, even if you look at the history of gaming from the mid-90s to what we have today with online gaming, completely different scenarios with completely different issues and just a massive change over the last, couple decades.
Yeah, so today, I mean, if you were to make a game, it'd be so much easier. In fact, I mean, people are making games and publishing on, Roblox, and making a lot of money just overnight type of thing. So it's just a whole different paradigm shift, but still respect for coming out with some of my most favorite games from the 90s. Those were the interesting years. But yeah, all right. So I'm actually now, I mean, you mentioned Google Cloud, and actually I've got a client on our portal that I've been doing some work for. We recently used a couple of things from the Google API, Google Places, for example, to augment the autocomplete and make the Google Civic thing work just a lot better, which is just a simple update. But sometimes people just don't know that Google has some of these services like Google Places and autocomplete. Tell me a little bit more about how, to make your customers more aware of the products and services that you offer.
Yeah, you mentioned an API, and believe it or not, there are hundreds of APIs that are available for you to use. I mean, you're talking about Places, but even something as simple as Maps, where you could start to pinpoint all of your locations across a Google map, or how to get to the closest location with Google Maps. For those of you who might be familiar with Disneyland or Disney World, when you pull up an app location, when you pull up like the Disney app while you're in the park, that's using Google Maps API. And it allows you to find your way from one ride to another ride, or where the closest restroom is, or something along those lines. So there's tons of APIs out there, and they're all available. The easiest way to find them is just do a Google search for Google APIs, right? And you're going to find them. But there are also a ton of communities out there. There's a community called C2C Global, and that's at c2cglobal.com. And it's a community dedicated to Google Cloud technologies. So you can go and you can find these communities that are out there. There's also an official Google Cloud community that you can go and register and interact with other people like yourself who are trying to find technologies to do really cool and fun things. And so a great first step is to go engage with some of these individuals who are experiencing the exact same challenges that you are and be able to communicate with them. I'm having this problem. Somebody's going to respond to you and say, oh, there's a API that can help you with this. Or, oh, there's a technology at Google that can solve this particular problem for you. And will guide you along the way. The community is vast. The community is very helpful. And there's podcasts like mine that are out there to also point you in the right direction. So do your research, do a couple of Google searches. And sure, do we spend a lot of effort and time and energy promoting those individual technologies? Not so much, and that's by design. I think a lot of this is for people who really want to engage with us. They're going to come to us and they're going to want to engage with us. But there's all this technology that we're talking about, whether it's Places API from a Google or whether it's a mapping type of API, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's storage, it's all out there. Amazon has them, Microsoft has them, Google has it. So find the technologies that enable you the best, and go with it, learn it, explore it. That's the fun part about this.
Awesome. And I just heard you mention community building is perhaps one of the primary ways of sharing information and growing both collectively and individually. And I actually come to think of it, I think that's something that a lot of startups miss out on. They're so busy trying to figure out customer acquisition and even technology strategies that I think they're forgetting some of the basics, like you got to build your audience and serve your audience, right?
Oh, definitely. And it's not just about building a system of followers. I think a lot of times organizations think that a community is your social media outreach, or a community is all of the followers or influencers that you could possibly get and attract more customers. But when we were talking about developer communities, we get into an interesting conversation that is about actually growing your business by exploring new avenues and new markets and new technologies, innovation, all through the technology that you are bringing in to support your customers. So let me give you an example of that. Let's say, we started off talking about Places API, but let's just say you have a business and part of your business is you have this technology and a set of APIs that are helping you to explore the technology stack, integrate with other elements of your business, et cetera. Now you've got that API and you are able to expose that to third-party developers who can then build new opportunities for you. So now you're growing your business, leveraging the technology by developing a developer community that is engaging with that technology. It's an awesome way to build a business. And like you said, most cases, people aren't thinking about it in that way. They're simply saying, I got to build a community because I need more customers, as opposed to I need to build a community because it's going to help me innovate faster and find new customers. Big difference.
Big difference. And yeah, thank you for that valuable insight. And so along the same lines, I mean, you mentioned the other side of the house where, and I hear it all the time at the developer, business exec come down, oh, we need to implement an AI stack for this. That's going to do what exactly? I don't know, something, just put AI in. So how do you handle business executives that come down and say things like that?
Yeah, believe it or not, I was just having this conversation today. So this is great. I think one of the biggest challenges for an organization is to manage the priorities, especially when, like you said, an executive comes down and says, I'm seeing this on the news, we have to go do it. Why? That is the right question. Why? What is in it for us? Actually, a better question is, what are our customers going to get from it? Because what I think most organizations forget is that you're not building technology solely to offer something new and exciting and creative that people are looking for. You're offering technology because your customers are demanding it. Think about the last time you went into a Starbucks. Now, I'm sure there is a lot of people out there that walk into a Starbucks, place an order, pull out their wallet, and pay by a debit card. But there is just as many people who place the Starbucks order ahead of time on their phone, pay for it on their phone, and then go and get rewards points and just pick up their drink. That experience of ordering and loyalty rewards points and payments on your phone has become an expectation. And so if you're not meeting those expectations, which are primarily today digital, then all you're doing is you're wasting money, because you have to be able to map that AI, as an example, directly back to what consumers are looking for. If you can't build a business case, if you can't identify what the business outcome is for that technology, then as I just said, you're simply wasting money.
Yeah, fantastic. And yeah, I think that's the thing. A lot of, even to a certain extent, a lot of consumers sometimes, I would argue, don't ask why, why they're doing something a particular way. Case in point, there was, I'm trying to remember now, but there was there's a game that's out there now, the Pi app. I don't know if you've heard of it, but oddly, nobody's asking why they're hitting the mine button once a day. Yeah, sure, there's a number going up, but that number has no relevance anywhere. But still, millions of people get addicted to clicking the mine button every day. So, I wonder if more people ask why, maybe we'll have a different situation. And to that end, what are some of the other random cases where you think perhaps we should question what we're doing so that we can become better?
Well, I'll put it in this perspective, and especially as we were just talking about, like an executive who is trying to make business decisions without really understanding what a customer wants, is to understand that every single person who is listening to this podcast, are customers. You're a customer, I'm a customer. We explore new things every day, whether it's a game, like you said, you download on your phone and you're just hitting a button, whether you're going to Starbucks and ordering on your phone, whether you're going to the grocery store and you want curbside pickup, whether you are making some sort of transaction online, e-commerce, it does not matter. Every single one of us is a customer. And what I tell a lot of businesses to think about first is, how would you want to engage with your own products? And it's amazing how many people don't think about it in this context. Like literally, the next time you go to the grocery store and you're at the terminal to check out and you've got that little display screen in front of you, think about, is this experience exactly what you would expect it to be? Is there something you would change? Is there something you don't like? Why am I keep pressing this button? Why do I have to enter my loyalty rewards number in every time? Why can't I just walk up and it does a facial recognition of me and it knows who I am, right? These are the questions that we do already ask ourselves every single day. Take that perspective and turn it into your own product roadmap at your own organization, and then you will find out just how far ahead you are from your competition. Because again, there's very few organizations that realize every single person at their company is a customer. Whether they're a customer of your own products or not, the same experience, that digital experience, we all know what it is, what we like, what we expect. You've got to be able to capture that and question that every single time to ensure that you're going to be successful.
Yeah, very excellent advice, and I wholeheartedly agree. Along the same lines, I was just thinking about a business that a friend of mine had worked at. He was hired there to be a marketing director, and they were still stuck in the old ways of doing things, applying things to retail channels. But he was brought in to try to do something with the web initiative, and then they ended up giving him practically no budget. So he's like, I can't do anything with this. You have to be able to do a lot to innovate within the web space. So I think a lot of people find roadblocks that are unnecessarily put in place by larger companies, and I think this is where a lot of these startups, a lot of these small companies can innovate, capture that customer base, and go gangbusters. Like I know one company, I did a little bit of work with them during their startup phase. They were designing an app using some Google APIs to split the utility payment. Apparently the whole problem in places like San Francisco, where you have like 4 roommates, and well, one person's name is on the utility, and what happens to the other 3 people, right? You still want to be able to pay them, Google Pay. You still want to be able to do things, to manage utilities. What happens if the primary person whose name's on the utility moves out? Who takes over? That's a whole conversation, which needs interaction to facilitate and make easier. So there's all kinds of interesting and unique opportunities, I think, in this space. And so to that end, just looking at, even you mentioned product roadmap, I'm sure you know a little bit of the Google roadmap. What do you think is coming next, where people can innovate and do more?
Well, not necessarily specifically Google, but if we just look at some of the trends that we're seeing in technology, you're going to see a lot more artificial intelligence. I think you're going to start to see a lot of AI built into other types of tools that we use, such as your camera having AI in it. We already see some of that today, but think about your pictures becoming smarter themselves, what you take pictures of becoming more aware of what those objects are, or compatibility with objects and other objects just from visualizing what it is and interpreting it. I think we're going to see AI increasingly more in video. Again, we talked about video surveillance, and we could probably have an entire other episode just on video surveillance. But the concepts of AI and video, I think, are becoming a lot more interesting. Major League Baseball actually does a lot of this, where you can dive directly into a particular game, a particular pitcher, a particular hitter, and do searches of the entire video archive of Major League Baseball and discover, like, I just want to find this particular pitcher who's pitching only strikes on summer days, at night games, right? And you can get into that level of detail, and it will return all of the video clips that matches that criteria. So we'll start to see AI in those types of areas as well. But one of the interesting things that I would recommend everybody to go and find is, there's a report. It's by Gartner, 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 and they do a report that's called the Hype Cycle Report. The Hype Cycle Report basically shows you what are some of the trending technologies that are on its way. And this goes beyond AI. Like, if we start thinking really sci-fi stuff, you can go look at this report and start to think of, everything imaginable, and they'll give you a rough indication of how plausible some of these technologies are that we're talking about. So that's the place to go to really see some of the things that are exciting to come in the future.
That's great stuff. Well, any final thoughts that you'd like to leave our viewers and listeners with? It's been a great show so far.
Yeah, no, I love talking about this stuff. And like I said, I think for anybody who's thinking about digital experiences, as I've already said a couple times, you really just have to put yourself into the experience. And if you think you're going to have a good experience, then odds are other people are going to have a good experience.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. And likewise, I mean, for developers, I think one of the big things to think about is just try to think about those steps. The less steps something takes, probably the better the consumer will be at having that experience. And I always try to eliminate the middleman as much as possible, which is key, I think.
Yeah, it's a great challenge to have for yourself if you're a developer. Take anything that you're working on, count the number of steps. Okay, this is 10 steps. Can you get it down to 9? Can you get it down to 8? Can you get it down to 7? And I'm sure at some point in time, and I've had this happen before, where an executive or a marketing person or a product person says, no, 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 we can't remove that step. And your answer has to be, your response has to be, why?
Why?
Why
Yeah,
not? Get it down to 3 steps, 2 steps, 1 step. If you can get it down to no steps, then you know you're onto something. You're really innovating. The funny thing was a couple of years ago, I know like Domino's Pizza came out with no step ordering,
oh
you
yeah, I
know,
remember that.
and a couple of other people started to, even like Amazon, single click ordering, right? The concept of getting it down to just one click so that you can do something is something that people are looking for. So again, make it a personal challenge. Try to figure out how you can get it down to no steps.
Awesome deal. Well, thanks for coming on to the show, Chris. And hopefully maybe we can circle back in 6 months or a year just to touch base, see what's new at Google. And likewise, you can see
Absolutely.
what's new with us, right?
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right. Thanks, Chris.